Traditional education and online education are often compared directly. It might come as a surprise to many to discover that this comparison is unfounded. The primary focus and purpose of traditional education is to educate students. Online education's original goal was to provide increased access, convenience, and flexibility to education. Online courses allowed students to attend class from the convenience of their own home and was economically rewarding since they didn't have to travel to the school. Enthusiasm for the potential of online courses to be a vessel for learning continued to include the possibility of enhancing educational opportunities for low-income and underprepared college students. Unfortunately, because of the way online learning is structured, students often struggle through isolation and a lack of structure which contribute to low completion rates. Convenience and flexibility alone are not enough for online education to be on equal footing with traditional educational practices when the focus is on educating the student.
Old technology was once new technology. Tools like the yellow number 2 pencil that are taken for granted today were a significant invention of technology in their debut. It is the same for online education. The earliest known reference to correspondence education using the U.S. Postal Service was on March 20, 1728. Caleb Phillips placed an advertisement in the Boston Gazette offering shorthand lessons. The lessons were for any person in the country desirous to learn this art, maybe having several lessons sent weekly to them, be as perfectly as those that live in Boston. In the late 1900s, personal computers came onto the scene, and the shift from correspondence to online began. In 1989, the University of Phoenix became the first to launch an online college program for both bachelor's and master's degrees. Technology continued to improve, and in 2008, a school in London was the first to use virtual scenarios in an immersive environment to train paramedics. Over the course of 300 years, distance correspondence education has become more accessible, interactive, and convenient for the prospective student.
Success in traditional education can predominantly be attributed to an educator following a set of best practices that are common to education. These techniques include checking for understanding often and in a variety of ways, as well as designing the end goal product first. Unfortunately, there are no universal best practices for online education. It is simply too new and diverse. While best practices are not a good measure for success across all of online education, there are key elements that can be utilized. According to Valencianos, there are 7 elements of a good online course. A good online course is informed by issues of equity and justice, interactive, engaging and challenging, involves practice, is effective, includes an instructor who is visible and active that exhibits care, empathy and trust, and promotes student agency.
Online education requires that both teacher and student have access to essential technologies. According to Texas A&M International University, the minimum technology requirements for a student in online education are a computer or mobile device that is less than 5 years old, speakers, headphones or earbuds, access to the internet, and a webcam. Along with these requirements for students, teachers often use information and communication technology and software to enhance their pedagogy. If both teacher and student are unable to access required physical and instructional technologies, it is unlikely the online course will be an effective avenue for learning.
According to Worthy, socioeconomic status is an economic and social combined total measure of a person's economic and social position in relation to others, based on income, education, and occupation. However, socioeconomic status is more commonly used to depict an economic difference in society as a whole. Breaking this definition down further, social classes in the United States of America can be broken down into classes: upper, middle, working, and lower class. 1/3 of the country's wealth is owned by the upper class, which is only represented by 3.6% of the population. The middle class represents 43.4% of the population and is comprised primarily of people with college degrees. Many of them are in managerial or supervisory positions. The working class represents 45.7% of the population and typically do not have 4-year college degrees, and some do not have high school degrees. Most of the working class has what are called blue-collar jobs and are not living within poverty levels, but their financial situations can be unstable. The lower class represents 7.3% of the population and typically earn incomes too meager to support a family. With such diversity across socioeconomic classes, The potential for issues in technology procurement for online education in a fair and equitable manner could pose a significant endeavor.
With an understanding of socioeconomic groups in the USA, it is reasonable to explore what groups are most likely to have access to online education. A gap in access to technology by socioeconomic status has generally been defined as the digital divide. Income levels and time requirements due to work and family responsibilities affect the lower-level socioeconomic classes more than the higher ones. More effort is involved to facilitate students with limited resources than those who can more easily procure the physical technology components they need. The struggle to close the digital divide has been magnified with the closure of many in-person classes during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a Pew Research Center poll, roughly 1 in 5 parents with homebound schoolchildren say it is very or somewhat likely that their children will not be able to complete their schoolwork because they do not have access to a computer at home. Unfortunately, it has proved difficult to reach these students in need, despite the efforts of community initiatives. The ability for all students to have access to the required technology for online education is a necessity for correcting the digital divide. Prior to the pandemic, countries were making solid progress toward a sustainable development goal set by the United Nations to ensure that by 2030, children would at least complete a primary school education. That goal may be in jeopardy now that the issues the digital divide represents are being exacerbated by the pandemic.
The ability to access technology is undoubtedly the most crucial factor for success in online education, but there are other measures that need to be met for the experience to be successful as well. Al-Brahim suggests that there are 6 categories of skills and competencies that instructors need to have to effectively teach online. These are pedagogical, content, design, technological, management and institutional, social and communication. Pedagogical skills. Effective online instructors should understand the fundamentals of online teaching and pedagogy. They must demonstrate this understanding through applying a large number of principles and strategies. These principles and strategies include learning theories, such as learning styles, the adult learning theory, the learner-centered approach, and collaborative learning. Designing and implementing appropriate instructional strategies, as well as classroom assessment and student engagement techniques. And motivating students and showing enthusiasm and interest. Content skills. Online instructors must be able to express and master extensive knowledge of the content. Develop a course outline that includes all course components and elements. And link the subject and content to scientific, social, cultural, and any other relevant phenomena. Design skills. Designing and developing online courses is a demanding task. It requires having a design and production team which consists of an instructional designer, instructional technologist, graphic and media designers and production team, and librarians. The design team must understand and apply instructional design principles, models, and theories, as well as organize and present the learning materials in different formats. Technological skills. Although online learning relies heavily on technology, there is no imperative need for online instructors to be technologically advanced. Online instructors have to possess adequate technological literacy skills to be able to access various technological resources and tools, such as email, internet browsers, LMSs, text and video chat applications, and productivity software and applications. They must also be aware of the technical potential of, and procedures used to create, e-content, such as e-books and instructional videos. Management and institutional skills. As classroom management is an important aspect of face-to-face education, managing courses and learning is essential in online learning environments. An awareness of institutional policies and norms is also an important aspect of being a successful online instructor. Skills and tasks related to these 2 aspects include being able to clarify the roles and expectations of the instructor and the learners, tracking course and students' progress on a regular basis, and conducting research on classroom teaching, then interpreting and integrating research findings and results. Social and communication skills. Active communication and social presence are vital to engaging online learners. Using different communication tools, online instructors have to efficiently communicate and promote interactivity among the learners. Some activities to achieve this include facilitating and maintaining interactive discussion and information exchange, clarifying the purpose and meaning of messages and feedback, and showing sensitivity and empathy when communicating online. Scott Mahal abridges Albrahim's list of skills by classifying them as interpersonal interactions. Referencing social constructivist Lev Vygotsky, Mahal points out that educators are often pressured to reach beyond replicating the in-person techniques that they have been previously successful with. Unfortunately, without sufficient training, it is difficult for them to achieve the same level of success.
Up to this point, success in online education from both the teacher and student perspectives across socioeconomic groups has been represented by its many challenges in this paper. Is that all there is? Is online education across the spectrum a failed venture from the outset? George Valencianos of The Conversation would argue to the contrary, along with many others. As with all grand goals, the moment of achievement is actually a collection of smaller victories along the way. Recall that Valencianos shared his advice on how to achieve these small victories in the form of 7 suggested elements of a good online course. A good online course is informed by issues of equity and justice, interactive, engaging and challenging, involves practice, effective, includes an instructor who is visible and active, and promotes student agency. Teachers can be instrumental to the effectiveness of an online course, despite the cultural socioeconomic status of their students. Properly prepared educators are more likely to design effective online courses and remain engaged with their students throughout the course.
A question about online education remains. Who is the greatest benefactor of effective and successful online education? Is it the upper classes of society because they are the ones who are most likely to readily have access to the technology necessary and can jump right in, or is it the lower classes because they will have the flexibility to attend their courses around their daily responsibilities? Proper analysis will require the expertise of sociologists and economists working with educators. All of these disciplines combine to develop a level of understanding of any particular student's situation. Using an interdisciplinary method of analysis will increase our depth of understanding of what it takes to make online education successful across socioeconomic groups in the USA.